Hi, my name is Annie, and I come from a super poor family. Unfortunately, we didn't have much growing up, and everything seemed to be a struggle. But before I go on, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any more awesome videos. Mom stayed at home taking care of me and my baby sister, Lacey. She was great to us, and I was truly so thankful for everything she did to keep us happy. She took us to the park, and when food was scarce, she always had an excuse as to why she didn't have dinner. As I grew up, I began to realize she went without eating so we could have a bigger meal. Dad worked super long hours, always busy. He was barely at home, which made me miss him so much. But how could I blame him? He was paid minimum wage at a local restaurant. To get more money for his family, he usually had to take us on double shifts and barely had any free time at all. Most of the time, he was at home. Dad slept heavily. Mom didn't let us wake him up, even though my sister and I really wanted to play with him. What little money we had left after rent was paid would go to cover our bare necessities. Toys and birthday cakes were rarely, if ever, a thing in my house. I really felt bad for my family and tried my best to help my mom and dad in whatever way I could. I did my bed from a really early age, cleaned the dishes, and babysat my sister when mom was busy. Anything I could do to make my parents' load more tolerable was worth the effort. Of course, we never ever took a vacation. I didn't know the beach, and I had never visited any mountain. I wanted so badly to take a long trip and imagine myself getting on a plane and traveling abroad often, but it was never going to happen, or so I thought back when I was a teenager. Everything changed after high school ended, and I began working at the same restaurant my dad was a cook at. I wanted to give them back some of what they did for me after all, so it was important that I began working right away. All my coworkers were super friendly, and I got along great with them. It was fun to get to know new people, and most customers were relatively nice. There were some mean or rude ones, sure, but they were gone before they could make me feel too uncomfortable. My favorite coworker was Sam. At first, we were just friends. Since he was closest to my age, we hung together often. But bit by bit, we began growing closer, going on dates and having an amazing time. He took me out to the movies once, and that was when we shared our first kiss. Sam was not only handsome, but also so kind and smart. He worked at the restaurant to pay his way through college and was determined to make something of himself. I found it so inspiring. It didn't take long for me to fall madly in love with him. I was certain we would go the distance, and I already pictured getting married one day. I hope my mom and dad approved of him. One day, though, something unexpected happened. This wealthy older man asked for a table in my sector. He apparently had seen me before and had taken a liking to me. I was okay with that since it meant a bigger tip and was super friendly all through my shift. Honestly, I didn't think too much of it. Not until a few nights later when I was woken up by my mom and dad whispering in the living room. It was odd for Dad to be awake that late, so I got curious and tried to listen to what they were talking about. Much to my shock, I realized Dad was telling my mom about that older guy and how he had really fancied me. Apparently, he wanted a much younger wife and didn't want to go through the hassle of dating. He just wanted to arrange a quick marriage and have children soon. He had worked his entire life, and now it was time to enjoy his personal life as well. He's offering so much money for us to convince Annie to marry him, Dad told Mom, and I could barely breathe. That would solve their problems and give my sister a chance at going to college. I was so confused and didn't know what to say, or if I should interrupt them. Instead, I decided to keep listening. Much to my shock, Mom didn't tell my dad he was insane for even considering it. She seemed to agree that it was messed up, but that it would be such a good opportunity for me to have a better life and for them to solve their money problems once and for all. So my dad picked up the phone and called that man. I didn't even know his name. It was insane. I heard as he told him they agreed and that they'd convince me to get married to him. I couldn't believe it. I curled up in my bed, closing my eyes tight and trying my best not to begin crying. I was in love with Sam. I wanted to marry him, just not right now. I was too young for any of that. And now I was going to walk down the aisle with a random older man and give up on my dreams for a future with the guy I adored. The following morning, Mom walked into my room looking so guilty. I knew what was coming and didn't know how to react. Annie, listen. I need to talk to you about this amazing opportunity one of your customers is offering us. She began tentatively. and I listened quietly as she tried to convince me to get married to someone I didn't know anything at all about. The truth of the matter was, I really didn't want to have anything to do with him. I knew all the sacrifices Mom and Dad had done for us and didn't want them to have to struggle any longer. So I reluctantly agreed, feeling so bad about the whole thing. I had to call Sam and dump him over the phone because I simply couldn't look into his eyes as I broke the news. Oh, he got so mad, started screaming that this was an insane plan and that I should just say no. Your parents are using you, Annie. You deserve better. Just walk out right now and come live with me and we can have an amazing future together, he said. But I couldn't abandon my parents when they needed me the most. I'm sorry, Sam. I truly am, I replied before hanging up the phone. Oh God, I wanted to run to him and never look back. Instead, though, I married this complete stranger within 2 weeks. Everything was so rushed and I felt like my heart was breaking when I said I do. My husband was a nice man, to be honest. He was kind and paid for everything. I didn't want for anything, but I simply wasn't happy. I missed Sam so much. 2 months into my sudden marriage, I was stunned to discover I was pregnant already. I couldn't believe it. My husband was so incredibly happy, and I didn't even know if I was ready to be a mom. I'll get you all the help you could possibly need, he assured me as we celebrated. His happiness, unfortunately, didn't last long. While working to work only a few weeks later, the older man who had essentially bought me from my parents got into a terrible car accident. He was in the hospital for 2 days in a medically induced coma before passing on. Though I wasn't in love with him, it was a horrible experience. He had been so kind toward me and didn't deserve such a terrible ending to his life. Soon after his funeral, I called Sam just to touch base with him. I wasn't going to jump into a relationship with him or anything of the sort. It was way too soon. But at least I wanted him to know I was available once more and I'd love to see him again. Sam absolutely refused to have anything to do with me. This completely broke my heart as I thought it might finally be our time to be happy together. Now I have all the money I could possibly need, having inherited my late husband's entire fortune, but I've never felt so miserable. I don't know how to get my ex-boyfriend to take me back, and I really need your advice. Do you think there's a chance I can get him to forgive me? Please let me know in the comments.